and action. Our guest today is Donovan Burgess. I hope I'm saying that right.
Burgess, yeah,
Burgess.
Donovan Burgess, right there.
Exactly, Burgess. Surfer, ex-military, and a few different things. But I'll let you introduce yourself for those that don't know you yet. So please tell us who you are and what is it that you do.
Yeah, Sasha, thank you for having me. It's a blessing to be here right now. Um, this is My name's Donovan Burgess, like you said. I am a surfer. I'm an entrepreneur, a storyteller, um, and right now we are just biding our time. We're waiting to go back to Nicaragua right now. We run surf camps and we do guided surf trips down in Nicaragua. And that's me and my wife. And we just welcome in our newborn baby son, Hendrix.
Yes,
He was born
congratulations.
3 months ago today. So we were celebrating his 3 months. And he was born on a very special day. And that was February 20th, 2020. So 2/20/2020 at 11:55 p.m. And we think that's some special numbers. We think it's an amazing date, and that's why we're up here right now. We came up from Nicaragua to have the baby up here, and so now we're here. And then the whole coronavirus thing kicked off. So
Right.
um, now, so this is where we're at, and we were supposed to leave yesterday back to Nicaragua, but the borders are closed, so here we are.
Yeah. So what's the situation in Nicaragua? And by the way, congrats on your baby. I said it, but you were talking. So what is the actual situation right now? Like, is it impossible to get in the country? Like, what's your forecast for the upcoming
Yeah,
months or the upcoming
the
season?
travel, yeah, it's impossible right now in some regards, because all the airlines are shut down.
Right.
So you would have to be like sailing in. Their border is open. Costa Rica's border is shut down. They're saying until the 15th. Nicaragua's border is open. Honduras, that border is closed, and they don't have a timeline on them. So the airlines are starting to fly back in. They're saying in July 2nd. And so we just got our tickets today. We already had tickets, but we had to push them back. So we pushed them back till July, the first week of July.
Right.
We're hoping that we'll be able to get in at that time and be able to get surfing. That's like the whole thing is chasing waves.
Right.
So, yeah.
But we don't hear much about South America or I guess Central America in these times. Like, do they even care? I did see a little bit of like I know Panama kind of caught on a little late. That's the
Right.
only bit of information that I had. But other than that, it's we're talking a lot about Western countries, talking about Brazil, Europe, but
Right.
very little of Central and South America, I feel.
Yeah, from what I know, I mean, they had the thing that made the like national news or the mainstream news was one of the Costa Rican cops shot at a surfer that was surfing in the water,
What?
and it's the guy that I know down from the very south of Costa Rica, down in the jungle down there, and he's a pro surfer, and evidently the cop shot like a shot over their head, like he was showing that he was serious. And so that was all over the surfing news and the inertia.com. It was on there. And so that was sort of big news. They closed the beaches down there. So for me, in my world, it's been news because the surfers in my world, the surfers are talking about what places are open and what's closed.
Right.
Nicaragua has kept the beaches open, and they've, their numbers for this whole thing are staying low, but at the same rate, they're not testing a bunch of people.
Mm-hmm.
So they're just getting, you're just getting word of mouth of what's happening. And it's what you're seeing is the same thing sort of everywhere. You have the people are split, right? Some of the people are like the world is ending, and the other half are like, can we just get on and let's it's okay.
Right.
So I think it's just sort of like this this whole thing that's happening all over the whole world right now, right? This whole misunderstanding, it seems like, right? The divide.
Yeah, well, I guess, and it is ripe for speculation, right? It's so all encompassing that you can't help but wonder. But let's before we get into that, I'd
Yeah.
just like to take one or two steps back. So I find you have a really interesting story. So you started out in the military. You eventually started your surf camp. I'm not sure if I'm getting the timeline right, but just tell us a little bit like what is your background, where do you come from, and how
Yeah, let
is
me
it
give you a
that you
little
started?
background.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm originally from Northern California, and I was raised out in the middle of the sticks of Northern California, and just on the water. My parents were sort of were hippies, and my dad just showed me how to fish and took me for my first waves in Santa Cruz, California, when I was like 6 or 7 years old. I joined the military thinking that I was going to help the world, that I was going to help impoverished countries, and that I was going to learn about the outdoors and survival. I was fascinated by survival and the wilderness as a kid, as a child, and still as an adult. And so that's really why I joined the military. I didn't join to do any type of war. If I thought anybody was going to point a weapon at me, or if I was going to have to point a weapon at them, I wouldn't have joined. I joined. I wanted to be a diver, double O Bravo, and I failed out of that because of my eyesight. But I did well in the military. I was a recruiter. I ended up being a recruiter for a couple years and did very well with that. And part of that story is when I was a recruiter, my roommate, my roommate Coley Pratt, his brother is Chris Pratt, who is a famous actor. He's a movie actor, and at the time he wasn't this famous guy. He was just on the show. He was on the WB, and he would show up, and we had this shitty apartment in Vallejo, California, and he would show up and he would tell me about how he was going to be like the most famous guy, that he was going to be like, he's going to make the biggest movies, and he was going to be on people's 50th sexiest guys.
yeah,
And he was telling me how he just had given up his possessions, this idea that was given to him, and he started doing what he wanted to do. And one of those things was to go to Hawaii and surf. And so, he had sold all of his possessions, goes to Hawaii and starts surfing. The next thing you know, he's on the WB making like $40,000 a month. And he's like, man, you just got to give it up, right? And so that story stuck with me for years.
mm-hmm.
But I was very much in the American dream.
Right.
And it took me even watching this guy do what he was saying he was going to do, watching him be into these movies and watching his career take off, I didn't have my own imagination. It was, go to school, go to high school, I joined the military because I didn't know what to do. And by this time, I have no imagination for anything else. I'm just in the cycle. And I knew I wanted more. I had to do something more than what was given to me. Chris Pratt's story, it struck a chord in me. And never being a surfer, I never surfed ever. The first waves I caught as a kid were on a boogie board. And that fascination of going to the jungle or this far off place seemed like such this amazing thing to do. He went to Hawaii. I found Central America, and I started researching that. And at 30 years old or 29 years old, I just got rid of everything. Throughout the years, I started getting rid of my stuff and decided I was going to leave the country, no matter what, because I wanted to change. Right? I wanted to change myself as a person.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way I could think about changing myself was getting stronger, was what I knew about. And through the military, I learned about lifting weights. Right? Lift weights and you get stronger. And this is how you get better at doing things. And my environment where I was at wasn't challenging me in the ways that I needed. And so I felt stagnant. And so I left. I went to Costa Rica and I started surfing. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me. It changed my life, similar to the way that it changed Chris Pratt's life, where he started doing the things he wanted to do, and I started doing the things that I wanted to do. And part of that was going out to the wilderness, living out in the wilderness for a year, right, with just an axe up in northern Maine, going and surfing all these rad places through Central America and traveling down into Mexico, and starting my own surf camp. So it's just led me down this amazing path, right, going around and traveling, and this very awakening path is what's really happened. And so through surfing, we now is what we're doing is it's doing the same thing. We're using the surfing experience to get the outdoor, spreading the aloha spirit, as it's called, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's what we're doing with that is basically reconnecting people through surfing, reconnecting people with nature through surfing. Mm-hmm. And that's really what the whole story is about. It was getting away from society and just going back out into nature, back into the things that inspired me. Mm-hmm. And so now the story moves on, and we're up here in Quebec having a family. So
amazing. I love it. And I there's so many things that I like about what you said. First of all, just searching for more. And I love how it kind of started out weirdly in the military and went all the way to the surf camp, but the desire kind of was always that basically is to look for more. And at the beginning you did not know where to look for it, I guess, and eventually it just kind of showed itself to you. So I like that whole story, how it pans up. So what does your year look like? So you're there, how much time do you spend in Nicaragua versus wherever else you spend your time? Like, what is the breakdown?
Yeah, well, I have a floating schedule. You know, every year is different for me. Whether I want to settle down or not, the universe doesn't allow it to happen. It's like, okay, this is what I'm going to do, and then there's some type of civil unrest. There's some type of, I'm in Nicaragua. I'm like, oh, this is what I'm going to do. And the next thing I know, they have basically this huge civil unrest, and I have to leave the country. I have to leave my surf shop and close everything down and uproot everything I did and move to a different country.
Right.
And it's like, I'm there and I'm setting up and doing it again, and I meet my partner, my life partner, right? And so now I'm starting family. And so the choice isn't mine. I'm just floating with it, right? So we're just up here right now. And the coronavirus has done that. It's been a blessing to us because I get to spend my time with my family right now. I get to work at the things that I want to do. I get to get online and do the things that I don't do when I'm down in Nicaragua, teaching surf, hosting these surf camps, and surfing, right? I'm doing all these fun things out in the sun, having a blast, doing what I love to do, interacting with people, sharing this passion I have. So it's hard for me to get on the computer sometimes and go build a website.
Yeah.
And go do these things. And it's like, so now I get to be here. I get to see my family every day. I wake up to them. I don't have to go to work anywhere. I get to work right here online. And so that's a blessing. And we're getting our schedule set for the new year. And we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if the borders are going to open up and people are going to be able to travel. We don't know. Mm-hmm. So we're planning on being down there in July. We're going to be down there for the season. We're going to make it till September. We'll be back up to market, and then we're back in for the busy season for us down there, which is December and January, where we get all the North Americans, we get the Canadians coming down, trying to beat winter, and coming to this, affordable paradise. We're there when it's the best time to have our clients down there.
Right.
We're not down there if it's flat or if it's a rainy season, even if it's a better time to make money. We don't run tours or camps that are in a bad season. We're always in the best time possible.
I love how this whole mentality of just letting things go and just giving up control of what are the current circumstances and just really surfing with it in every kind of way. I love how it all kind of ties together into that scene. But yeah, speaking of all this current control and everything, you do have certain views and about what's going on right now that I do find are kind of interesting and I guess out there or alternative or not necessarily what the mainstream is about. And I would like you to kind of just share what you think is currently going on and what you think is actually happening either behind the scenes or right in front of us.
I don't know anything, right? That's something
Right.
that I've learned, and I've heard it multiple times from different philosophers. The first time I think I heard it was Alan Watts was talking about it and saying that one of the highest form of saying I love you is to say I don't know, right? Because like what do we know? We just don't know. My
Yeah.
perspective, the one thing that I know is that my perspective always changes. And I didn't learn this. I didn't know that I was under an illusion, that I was living multiple lies, lies upon lies that I didn't even know were there, um, until I started on this journey, right? Until I decided I was going to go in, until my goals changed from accomplishment of owning things, of being of some type of accomplishment in my parents' eyes or my friends' eyes or the things that I own, my goals changed to loving myself no matter what. Those were my goals. I wanted to have good relationships in my life because I'd seen that that was the true value in life, right? So uh, I wanted to do those things. And the story of Jesus always fascinated me, right? He just is like, just takes off on his own. And he goes out and he says if you want enlightenment, that you should give up your possessions and you should allow the universe to provide for you. And so this really fascinated me as a child. Yeah, I think it's part of what put me into the survival world, learning about living off the land and things. And so I love that story. And so when I wanted to change, right, I wanted to go and do something different, just like leaving the country, I couldn't do it. Right? Like what was stopping me from going down there and living this life? I want to go live in the jungle somewhere on this beautiful paradise and drink cheap beer and live this great life that I've heard about. Why can't I do that? Why
Right.
can't I get up and just walk out the door and go to the next town? And so that got me thinking, why can't I do this? Well, I have debt. I have this. And I'm like, well, I'm in control. This stuff is in control of me. That my possessions are keeping me from doing what I want to do. So I started striving for poverty, right? Because I wanted to go try this. If enlightenment is there, Buddha talked about it, Jesus talked about it, all these great people are like, give up your shit and you're going to find the kingdom of heaven is right here. Well, if I can't do it, I can definitely see there's something holding me back. So
Mhm.
let me continue. It just itched at me. So it took me years of talking about it. I'm going to leave. I'm going to go to Costa Rica. I start selling my stuff, and I go on this journey. And I had finally worked up the courage to go out into northern Maine and walk out and live out there and attain the, like live out there for a year, and do sections at times, living out in the wilderness. And these were moments that I started having mystical experiences, right? I'm doing fasting, I'm living by like native way, and I start having these experiences. I start seeing life differently. I start seeing that I'm some shell of a person, that I have this ego, right? That's there. And it's living these lies. I was living lies that I didn't even, that I just were so embedded in me that I didn't know that I was living them, right? I was just living them. And it was simple things, parts of stories, right? Like books I read. Like I go out to the wilderness and I realize right away that I'm not the survival guy that I thought all of a sudden, it's different than reading a book and going camping than going out in the wilderness and having nowhere to go, right? You're like, well, now I'm out here in the middle of nowhere. There's no going to hotel. There's not a calling somebody, right? I'm having this experience and now I'm scared in the woods. Shit. Okay, now I have to deal with myself. And so right away, the illusions fall away. And if that illusion is there, what else? It started pricking my interest. What else am I lying to myself about? What else am I keeping from myself? So I continued on that path of putting the faith into just the reality, right? Into this world, and just allowing it to take care of me. And it's been a process. It's just not as easy as getting up and giving your possessions away.
Hmm.
I remember I've lived in an RV, I've lived in a truck now, and I lived in vans. And I started doing that before there was this cool van life thing going on. It was
It
like,
wasn't cool, but it used to be you're just a bum, but now it's actually a cool
we
thing.
were living in the van down by the river.
Yeah.
And, moving to the RV for me was such a huge decision in my life. I was crying. It was crying because I didn't want to be a long-haired hippie. I never had long hair, right? I was in the military, short hair. I didn't want to be a long-haired hippie. I thought I was never going to get laid again. I like, oh man, what are my friends are going to think of me?
That's concerning.
But what I was doing is I had the decision. It was like, my goal in life became to love myself completely. And part of that was doing the things that I wanted to do, following, as they call it, my path of joy. And part of that was I found surfing at 30, in Costa Rica. And I find that, and I'm back in California, and I have the choice. Do I continue surfing? Do I maybe go and get a vehicle to live in so I can continue surfing in Santa Cruz? Or do I go back to work, running heavy machinery, making the money, get back in the group? And the easy answer was go make the money, right? Go make the money, go be the man, take care of your stuff, take care of your debt, don't be a bum. And it took, crying. And, I thought I would never recover from this. But one of the greatest things I did was move to that RV, get into an RV. And it just like, it liberated me. And then it was like it was a truck after that, and then a van. And I drove down to Nicaragua. And then it was like, I'm just going to walk out. I'm going to walk down the coast of California with no money to see what happens. And I found that homelessness was a disease, that there was no way that I could go sleep on the street. If I wanted to sleep on the street, I had to force myself to go sleep on the street. I couldn't do it. Like, somebody would come up and like, what are you doing? Like, come with me. Like, let's go. Like, these people that are there are sick. They're suffering in such terrible ways that it's really a call for help. But yeah, you gain this perspective. So I guess I'm telling you all the story to come to this perspective of what's happening today.
There is this divide between, this is the greatest thing that could have happened to us, and yeah, I mean, on the other side is like everything that is good about people. That's the thing, is kind of being shattered. So it's not like everything's bad is leaving. It's like, social interactions. It's like, just having conversations with strangers, things that are kind of uniting. The perspective isn't, we have to remember the things that we are losing in that, and not just think about, like you said, the unicorns and the rainbows,
Yeah. So truly what is happening. And it's like, it's not in the future, it's happening. We've been locked down. That's the facts of it. And we're being censored. And it doesn't matter what the information is, we're openly being censored now at this point. And so, I mean, I think that's to me, that's sort of scary, right? And it's easy to get scared with this stuff, right? Like, are they gonna open the borders again, right? They just keep pushing this thing over, and it's like, oh, we're gonna go this next state, and this. And then the next stage is turned political, right? It's turned into a left and right wing thing, and it's beyond that. Times are changing, that's for sure, right? Yeah. And I think we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what the future holds for us, and I think the best that we can do, though, is to not go along with the fear that is being propagated on both sides. Either if it's left or right, and a lot of the fear. And that's what we can control. And we can control our present moment and continue to work on these, work on things that we want to work on and focus on the things that we want to focus on.
Mm-hmm.
It's up to us to how we want to see it. You're exactly right. It's how do we want to see it? Is it destruction at one level? It is. And at that one level, is it this separation or fighting at one level? It is. But ultimately, it's for our greater good, right? It's our evolutional process in this whole thing. And that's sort of how I see it. Yet it's still very easy to get caught up in these getting caught up with arguments and people's emotions that are happening.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm really trying to focus on giving people the space to just be who they are, right? Just speak what they know. And that's what I think is cool. Out of all these conversations I hear, there's so many people saying the same thing. They're saying, I don't know everything. A lot of people are saying that, like, I don't know the full facts of everything. Something doesn't seem right.
And no one does, right? Because I mean, as much as if you were, either a conspiracy theorist or a person that's like hard bent on listening to every single word the government says, I think in both cases you're kind of wrong. Like no matter what you're looking at, because you don't have the full picture, and you're as crazy to think that everything that the government says is true as much as listening and believing in everything a person on YouTube is saying. It's kind of
Right.
it's two sides of the same coin.
Right. You have like all these people that are taking in, and it doesn't matter what happens. It doesn't matter the reality that happens. They take and filter that reality to fit their reality. It doesn't matter if it's scientific evidence. It doesn't matter what it's said. They take that information, they see what they want to see, and turn it into however that fits their narrative, right? Because, right, as I learned going out through this process, that I was living under this disguise, right? This illusion, this program that was given to me early on in life. The same program I learned about in recruiting. And in the recruiting command, when I went through the recruiting school in the Army, I had recently wrecked a motorcycle, and they were going to kick me out of the Army. I wasn't ready to get out of the Army quite yet. And so I started making phone calls, and I made a phone call to the command. Next thing you know, I'm talking to the general of the recruiting command. And he's like, if you can convince me that you can do this, like, you can do this, then I'm going to change the military law. I'm going to write the SOP, change the standard operating procedure to allow you to come along to the school. All right. So here I am as like an E4 with a bunch of E6s. I'm the youngest dude going through, and I graduate like top of my class. I learned these simple tricks. Now, I didn't know what they were teaching me at first, that they were showing us how to get people to say yes when they really meant to say no. They were showing us how to it was basic and simple hypnotization they were teaching us, but they weren't calling it hypnotization, right? How to guide the conversation to where you want to go, how to take somebody and lead them to where you want them to sit, how to ask them questions to get them to start saying things in a certain way, and then how to close them, how to close these people. And it works. It works, and it's why it works, is why I found out this worked later in life, is as I was reading hypnotization books, and I'm learning about myself and the strengths of myself, I'm like, oh my gosh, they're teaching me how to tap in to this programming that's already been set, right? I was like, oh, okay, I see this, right? This is a programming that's already there.
Right.
So, yeah, so I see this. And so, like I said, as I started experimenting without money, I also see this illusion that was there, this programming that I want to call it, that was given to me at a very young age. It's a comparison type of programming, is what I call it. It's the opposite of love, right? Like, I just had a child, so I know, like, you have the child, there's no love that you can compare to the child. Like, you just love the child. It doesn't matter that my boy came out and his ears folded over. It's like you just love them. And I can understand why parents have children that have mental disabilities. They don't care. They just see their child for what it is. It's all-encompassing love. There's no comparison. It's just their child. And the first thing they do to us, very young age, is take us out of that environment, that loving environment, and start comparing us in all these different ways. And they do it in a systematic way, I find. And it's just like, and it works. In 12 years of constantly comparing yourself in a multitude of ways with a bunch of different strangers constantly every day, just every day. And then they mix you up and do it again. They mix you up, they do it again. They mix it, and it's just constant. So that constant judgment happens. And this constant need to feed this wrong and rightness, this wrong and right thing, to feed the illusion that one is living in, that they don't know that's there. We have no idea that it's there because we're just doing what was told to us. We never got outside to think outside the box. We're just following what's been said and being good at it. And so then we're in these positions where it's about Trump or being Democratic or being left or being right. And I got to prove this position of wrong and rightness. And it creates this huge amount of anxiety.
Well, it's so stupid that it's like a binary choice, right? Like, how is one choice going to be all encompassing into every single belief and every single like thing that could possibly happen? I find it's such a childish way to think about things, whether it's positive, whether it's politics or anything else, that you just put all your beliefs in a box of yes or no, and as if there was no overlap, as if the other side was completely wrong, you were completely right, and there's no gray zone. When we know that in life there's always a gray zone, there's always an in between, there's always, even the most disgusting things, you can find some things that are right in them, and even in the best things, you know, like the what is it, like hell is paved with good intentions, or you know, like so it goes both ways, and it's crazy to think that one can have all the answers, one can be the almighty righteousness of everything, basically. So I think that's kind of where you're trying to get to.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so keeping on your life, so what is it like right now? What is your main goal? Like, what kind of impact do you want to have, like in the coming years? What is it that you're striving for as a human being?
Oh, that's a great question. Um, Lately is what I do is I write my goals down and then I draw them out. And I put them, we make them into artwork at times. A lot of times I have them posted up next to the light switch, something like that. But we've been moving around so much, and we don't have all of our artwork right here. But my number one goal right now was to be humble. That was my number one goal, and I drew this out, and it's more than just being humble. It's more than that. This idea of being humble is, you know, I'm a father, I'm a son, I'm a husband, right? I'm a teacher, and there's all these. I'm a warrior at one level, right? And you know, on a spiritual path at another level, and so there's all these things that are happening, and to be humble in the process has been my number one goal lately. And that is just, I think, to me, is recognizing, and what I mean by being humble is recognizing the oneness in all of us, the sameness in all of us. And the more that resonates in my life, the more that comes out of my life, the more the more I feel connected into this life. These moments of these amazing moments that I get, I call it these mystical moments, right? If you've ever done psychedelics, it's like psychedelics. If you've ever done fasting, you get these moments that are just like, oh my gosh, you get connected in. Right. And this is what happens through these things of being present, and these moments happen and you're present for them, and you have these just natural things going on. So that's it, to be humble, to see this oneness that's happening, and the best way to do that is being thankful for what I have. And so those are the deals, just being working every day at just being right here. Um, and it's practice, because even during this time, there's nights where I'm standing up and I'm like, shit, I knew that this was happening 10 years ago. What's next? And I'm allowing that fear to get a hold and to go. And it's like, you know what? No, it's okay. We could work, we just breathe through there's, we're working through this. This is just going to make us stronger. This is just making me stronger. So.
To be humble, amazing. There's so many
Right now. That's the goal.
that could, that if more people were humble, we'd definitely live in a better world in so many regards and in so many places. So I think to teach humility is a great end. Thanks, Donovan. I mean, so many insights into what you say that can definitely help people go forward in their own particular path. So I really enjoyed talking to you and having all these little gems here and there of insights that you've had through your path and your path of self-transformation. Where is it that people can find you? How can people get to the waves in Nicaragua this year?
But yeah, we're running these surf camps down in Nicaragua, and we're hosting. It's for anybody. You don't have to be a surfer. This is if you want to do a vacation and you want to come and see Costa Rica or Nicaragua. It's a great way to come see the countryside, see the sights, and get an authentic experience. You get to get this experience from me. I introduce you to all the cool people and all of my friends that I've been meeting, building these great relationships for like the last 10 years. So I know all these little hidden secret spots. I know all the locals, and I get to bring people down and show them this paradise, and I love it. I take a lot of pride in it, and it's such a magical thing. As I was talking about going to the wilderness, right? Like going and walking without money down the coast of California, is what I found is surfing can do some of these things that take months of going out to the wilderness to take weeks of fasting, right? Or taking a large dose of psychedelics. You can get the same experience in surfing from one wave, right? And we call that the aloha spirit. And for the surfers out there that have caught in waves and stuck with it, they know what I'm talking about. And so we share this experience and this whole lifestyle with people, and we spread the aloha spirit. We do it right now mainly out of Magnific Rock, Nicaragua. It's on the Emerald Coast. It's beautiful. You guys can learn more about what we do by going to liquidsessionssurf.com. It's a website. I built that whole website myself. We got some new stuff that are coming up. And also Instagram, Facebook, Liquid Sessions, Surf. You'll find us, YouTube. And, that's you can see the pictures up there and the stories of what we're doing. We have a bunch of new content coming out too, and a whole new marketing plan that we're doing that involves traveling North America once they open the borders up. Mexico and North America I don't want to share too much, but
amazing.
A traveling surf wagon, and we're going to really spread the Liquid Session surf and the love, and really get some great content as we're taking our family to all these great surf breaks and these great places like in Canada, Quebec, and Montreal and whatnot.
Amazing, Donovan. Well, definitely we will keep an eye on, and looking forward for when this mess is all over to connect more with Good Vibe People and Liquid Sessions. Thanks again for coming on the show. Definitely insightful. You were the perfect candidate for this alternative lifestyle thing that we're trying to go on. And once again, your insights are definitely something to learn for no matter where you are in your life. So thank you, sir, for being part of this show, and we'll definitely keep in touch and have a beer soon.
Yeah, for sure. Let's do it. And you'll be down, hopefully you'll be bringing your crew down and checking it out. It will get you guys up in the waves.
100%, my man, for sure. It is a guarantee. It's not if, but when. So definitely looking forward to it, my man. Thank you so much.